Welcome to the Township of Lower Makefield Zoning Hearing Board, March 17th, 2026. Tonight we have three matters on our agenda. I'm going to start off with first matter, which is a continuance request. Then we're going to move to the second matter, UMANSKY, where our board solicitor, Adam Flagger, is going to address both the board and the applicants and the people in the room who are parties to the opposition to our to the matter. I don't know if I said that. And then third is FELIZ von Spreckelsen. So we're going to first start with Appeal Z 25-51. We requested a continuance to April 7th, 2026. Before I ask for a motion, is there anyone in the room for public comment in regard to the Murphy-DeLuca matter? Okay. Is there anyone online in regard to this matter? Okay. Absent public comment, would someone like to make a motion regarding continuing? Yes. Oh,
raise your hand.
I'm sorry, I could not quite hear what you said, but if you were asking if anybody wanted to comment about tonight's session, I would like to.
No, I was asking if there's any public comment in the room for the Murphy-DeLuca matter.
Okay. A little hard to hear you when you turned your head away from the microphone. I apologize.
Okay, sorry about that. Any public comment online? No. Absent public comment, would someone like to make a motion to continue Appeal Z 25-51 to April 7th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Comment? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Z 25-51 has been continued to April 7th, 2026. Next up on our agenda is Appeal Z 25-13 UMANSKY. As I just stated earlier, our solicitor, Adam Flagger, is going to address this matter right now. Adam?
Thanks, Jim. So this matter previously came before the board in, I guess it was the summer of 2025. It was appealed at a Rule 27 conference with the appellants and the applicant's attorney. We agreed to remand the case for the sole purpose of allowing Bob Nemiroff to cross-examine the applicant's witnesses. After that happens, Mr. Nemiroff, as well as Jeff Garten, the applicant's attorney, will be able to make any final argument to the board, and then the board will vote on that. But there is to be no additional evidence or testimony outside of the sole purpose of the cross-examination of the witnesses from the last meeting. So no additional public comment will be heard. And this is specifically from a January 13th, 2026 order from Judge Jordan Yeager. And we can mark that as an exhibit as well. Let me just see what we were up to. We would have that. I think we can mark that as A11.
I have a copy if you need one to mark.
What? I have it already,
Okay,
but
that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, so it would be up to Mr. Nemiroff as far as how he wants to call everyone. I don't know if he has a particular order he wants to do it on, but then floor is his to call the witnesses and then to have cross-examination.
Preliminary matter, however, Mr. Nemiroff agreed that he did not need to see the engineer again tonight. So we only have Mr. UMANSKY and the planner here tonight, based on Mr. Nemiroff's call with me earlier actually late last week.
That is correct.
Okay, that sounds good then.
Would the witnesses state and spell their full names?
Eugene Umansky, E-U-G-E-N-E, U-M-A-N-S-K. E-U-G-E-N-E, last name U-M-A-N-S-K-Y.
Your name, sir?
Jerome, Jerome, last name Skrinkowski, Skrinkosky.
Do you both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Just a brief statement with the board's permission before I begin. For the purpose of clearly stating on the record, I am here tonight before this board in my capacity as an affected party, not as an attorney. And I want the record to clearly reflect that, and that's no different from my appearance before this board on August 5th, 2025, in the capacity of an affected party. And as you've heard, we're here tonight by virtue of a remand order from the Court of Common Pleas that was issued for the purpose of giving me a limited opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses, the applicant's witnesses that were presented on the evening of August 5th, 2025. There were 3 such witnesses. I only intend to cross-examine 2 of them, as you've heard, Mr. Umansky and Mr. Skrinkowski. And with the board's permission, I will proceed.
Have at it, Mr. Nemo.
Thank you. Thank you. I will start with Mr. Umansky. Good evening, sir.
No, slide that one. Right over, Mr. James.
Mr. Umansky, I will be asking you questions this evening regarding your direct testimony from the hearing on August 5th, 2025. And my first question is, have you had an opportunity to review that transcript?
Yes, most of the transcript and where I was answering questions.
So you had a chance to review your direct testimony from that transcript?
Not every word, but I reviewed it.
Okay. Now, for the record, the caption of this case, as it appears on the transcript, is In Re Appeal Number Z-25-13, Eugene Umansky for the property located at 136 Old Oxford Valley Road. And just for clarification, Eugene Umansky, you, sir, in your individual capacity, are not the applicant before the zoning board, correct?
Please clarify. I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'm trying to clarify whether or not you, as an individual, are the applicant before this zoning hearing board.
I believe, if I understand what you're asking, the applicant is an entity. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and is that entity Oxford Valley Road Owner LLC?
Yes.
And are you a managing member of that limited liability company?
I am a member of that company, yes.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to start to one of the exhibits that was utilized at the August 5th, 2025 hearing, and that would be the agreement of sale that was marked as Exhibit A3. And I have an extra copy for you. I would ask that you take a look at the face page of that exhibit, sir.
Okay.
Do you recognize this document?
This is, yes, the original document.
And am I correct, this is the agreement of sale for commercial real estate between Dryden Court Development LLC and/or Assinee as the buyer and Hyber Family Limited Partnership as the seller?
Yes.
Okay. And have you reviewed this document before tonight?
My partner reviewed this document when we were first entering into the agreement. I've seen this document, yes.
Are you familiar with its terms?
I'm not familiar with all the terms, no.
All right. So if I can direct your attention to page 10 of 10, which is the last page on this document, it indicates that the document was signed on September 6, 2024, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. And then if you would turn to page 2 of 10 of this document, particularly section 4, do you see that it reflects a settlement date of May 30th, 2025?
Yes,
Okay? And then if you would go back to page 10, at the top of the page, section 31, under special clauses, do you see that section?
yes,
Have you read that section before this evening?
with respect to our settlement date and terms, yes.
Well, I'm directing your attention specifically to section 31, capital B, additional terms. Do you see that section?
Yes,
Okay. And have you read before this evening the fact that the settlement date under this agreement was subject to zoning approval?
yes,
Okay. Now, if you turn to back to page 7, section 19. This is a section that applies to assignment. Do you see that?
yes, I see the section.
Okay, and it states that this agreement is binding upon the parties, their heirs, personal representatives, guardians, and successors, and to the extent assignable on the assigns of the parties hereto. Buyer will not transfer or assign this agreement without the written consent of seller unless otherwise stated in this agreement. Do you see that?
Yes,
Okay. And you were familiar with that term?
first time I'm reading this section, but I get it.
Okay. And in fact, if I can direct your attention now to Exhibit A4, copy of which I have for you. Which is a document entitled Repudiation and Novation of Agreement of Sale.
Correct.
Do you see that document?
Yes,
Okay. And is this a document with which you are familiar?
yes, familiar. Again, my partner does all of our legals, but I am familiar with this document.
Okay, and as a result of this document being signed, which you can see on the signature page, page 3 of the document,
Okay,
all right? This document, is this the document that caused the agreement of sale to be assigned from Dryden Court to your limited liability company?
yes,
All right. I noticed on this document, sir, that although there is a reference in the introductory section to the month of December in the year 2024, there's no specific date. The document doesn't appear to be signed, to be dated. Do you know why that is?
could have just been an omission in this one, but if, I don't,
You're not sure?
I'm sorry for, get to the point.
Well, it's a simple
You're trying
question.
to refute the documents.
I'm not, sir, just answer my question.
It could have just been an omission by error, but we know the dates because of when this document was circulated.
Okay, do you know the date when this document was fully signed?
Off the top of my head, no, but I can check for you.
Would it have been sometime in December of 2024?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure it was, but I can
Okay.
check.
And as a result of this document being signed, Oxford Valley Road Owner LLC replaced Dryden Court as the purchaser of this property, correct?
Correct, that's the intent.
Okay. And as a result of that assignment, would you agree with me that that limited liability company, Oxford Valley Road Owner LLC, became bound by the terms of the agreement of sale, the original agreement of sale that's marked as Exhibit A3 in this case?
The agreement and future addendums.
Okay, so you would agree with that?
I guess. Yeah, I guess. So.
And that's why Oxford Valley Road Owner LLC is the applicant in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Next, I'd like to direct your attention to what was marked as Exhibit A5 at the August hearing. And I will represent to you that this exhibit was a compilation of two documents, two addenda to the original agreement of sale. The first addendum, which is actually the last page of the document, is dated December 12th, 2024. Do you see that?
Oh, yes, yes, I see it.
Okay. And Section 2 of that document changes the settlement date from May 30th, 2025 to November 25th, 2025, correct?
We're on the last page? Is that where
We
we are,
are.
Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Section 3, under additional terms, modified Section 31B of the agreement of sale by requiring settlement to occur within 10 days of receipt of all approvals, including zoning approvals, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The second addendum, which is page 2 of this document, is dated May 3rd, 2025 for the buyer's signature and May 5th, 2025 for the seller's signature, correct?
Yes.
And Section 2 of this document changes the settlement date to December 31st, 2025, correct?
Yes.
With the same changes to Section 31B of the agreement of sale as reflected in Section 3 of this document, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with respect to each of these addenda, your signature appears on both of these documents in your individual capacity. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I signed for this document.
But the documents don't indicate that you signed on behalf of your LLC, does it?
Does it need to? At the top, it says buyer.
Right, and the buyer is Oxford Valley Road Owner LLC, correct?
I'll check the incorporation documents, but sure.
These two addenda are not signed by the LLC, are they?
Again, I have to ask, do you need the seller to validate these documents? I mean, this is a year ago, but yes, at the bottom, it does not say on behalf of.
Okay, very good then. Now, the closing did not take place on December 31st, 2025, correct?
Of course not.
And that's because of the pendency of this proceeding, correct?
This proceeding is one item in approvals. There's many approvals that still need to take place before we're obligated to close.
I'll rephrase my question, in part due to the pendency of this proceeding.
In part, yes.
Okay. The next document I ask that you look at is a document that I have marked Exhibit Nemiroff 1, which is a third addendum to the agreement of sale for 136 Old Oxford Valley Road. And the date is September 6th, or the date of the agreement, September 6, 2024. And do you have this document in front of you?
Yes.
And Section 2 of this document, once again, changed the settlement date, this time from December 31st, 2025 to May 28th, 2026. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this document, as indicated at the bottom, once again, was signed by you individually, but not by the LLC, correct?
How do you sign for an LLC, I guess is the question. But yes, it is signed by me, correct.
Okay. In other words, it doesn't indicate anywhere that it's on behalf of the LLC.
Only at the top of the document,
And where would that be?
where the buyer and seller are.
In other words, the reference to buyer, Oxford Valley Road LLC, at the top of the document.
That's correct. That's where the buyer is stated and the seller is stated.
Okay. So the closing's been extended, and none of the other terms on Exhibit A5, the other two addenda, other than the extension of the closing date, have changed, correct?
Our inspection period also changed.
Okay, now, if zoning relief that you're requesting is denied by this board, is it your intent to develop this property, this tract, which is the subject of this application, for a use that's different than your proposed use in the C3 zoning district? For example, a daycare facility.
I can't answer that at this moment. It would be either another residential use that does not require a variance, or it would be a commercial use that makes sense financially on this property. I'm sorry, I can't honestly really answer that, but
Well, I think you just did.
yeah, those are our options.
So if you were to develop the property that would not, for example, if you were to develop the property for a use other than a residential use, such as a daycare facility or a nursery school or a kindergarten that would not require a variance under Section 200-47A3A, which is the mixed
I
use
understand. I
variance.
know the section, yes.
Okay. That would be possible, correct?
I have to go through the list of allowed uses and also see, to answer you honestly, some of those uses still require a 10-acre site, so we would need an exception because by nature, the site is 2 acres. But yes, I mean, I would see what I can develop. I don't.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for Mr. Umansky.
I have just one or two questions. Mr. Umansky, you are a member of the LLC, Oxford Valley Road LLC, is that correct?
Oh, sorry.
We'll switch it back and forth. You are a member of the buyer, which is Oxford Valley Road LLC, correct?
Yes,
And are you authorized to execute legal documents on behalf of that limited liability company?
yes,
And when you signed the various documents that were just referenced, were you signing in your capacity as a member authorized to sign those by the LLC?
yes.
Okay, I have no other questions.
No questions. With the board's permission, I'll call Mr. Skrinkowski.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Skrinkowski, good evening.
Good evening.
I will be asking you questions, sir, on cross-examination, which relate to your, in part, to your direct testimony from the hearing on August 5th, 2025, in part, which relate to your report of April 14th, 2025, and in part with respect to your curriculum vitae, your CV. Is that understood?
Understood.
Okay. And have you reviewed the notes of testimony from the hearing of August 5th, 2025 before testifying tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Including your own direct testimony in that matter, in that
Yeah.
session?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sir, you are a certified planner for the last 40 years, correct?
Certified planner for the last 25 years.
I aged you.
I have 41 years of professional planning experience, 25 of those as a certified planner.
Thank you. I stand corrected. And in your 25 years' experience as a certified planner, I take it you're familiar with Article 9 of the Municipalities Planning Code
Deals with appeals? Yes.
relating to zoning hearing board proceedings?
Yes.
And the application of that article to land development plan reviews, which require zoning relief.
Yes.
Okay. In fact, your CV touts that experience. And I'll direct your attention to the first page of your CV, the second paragraph, which I'll read, which says, Mr. Skrinkoski possesses a strong understanding and knowledge of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, as well as other planning, zoning, and land use laws, which has been applied to comprehensive plans, municipal ordinances, traffic and recreation impact fees, permit reviews, subdivision, and land development plan reviews, and other municipal projects. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sir, are you familiar with Section 910.2 of the Municipalities Planning Code relating to zoning hearing boards' functions and variances?
I am generally yes.
Okay, I'm going to hand you a copy of that section. And I've marked this document as Exhibit Nemeroff 2.
Is this the same page?
And I also would like to know whether you are familiar with the Lower Makefield Township zoning ordinance, specifically Section 200-97 pertaining to variance appeals, which I've marked as Exhibit Nemeroff 3.
Yes, I have included that in my report.
And would you agree with me, sir, that both sections of these respective codes essentially mirror one another?
Yes.
Now, Section 910.2 of the MPC, under subsection A, and I'll just read the introductory paragraph, which says, "The board shall hear requests for variances where it is alleged that the provisions of the zoning ordinance inflict unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. The board may by rule prescribe the form of application and may require preliminary application to the zoning officer. The board may grant a variance provided that all of the following findings are made where relevant in a given case." Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And you'll notice after the colon that there are 5 separate requirements. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if you look at section, the same section, 200-97A2 of the Lower Makefield Township zoning code, the same 5 requirements appear, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I direct your attention under the MPC 910.2A, particularly Section 2. And again, I'll read this particular section out loud, that because of such physical circumstances or conditions, there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning ordinance, and that the authorization of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll notice in section 200-97A2 of the Lower Makefield Township zoning code the same subsection 2 appears, correct?
Yes,
Okay, now the variance, and you're familiar with this section of both codes, correct?
yes, they appear in most zoning ordinances.
Okay, now the variance in question, as we alluded to earlier, under the Township Zoning Code is Section 200-47A 3A, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the mixed-use requirement. Okay. And you allude to that section in your report of April 14th, 2025, on page 6. Do you have that report with you?
Yes,
Okay. Could you turn to that, please? Page 6.
I'm on page 6.
Thank you. Under 3C, zoning variance appeals, you state sections 200-47A3A that requires no more than 60% of the proposed residential uses shall be single-family attached units. The applicant proposes that 100% of the 16 proposed units will be attached units. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. Can we agree then that for the type of use, the construction of townhomes on the tract in question, the township code under section 200-47A3A requires no more than 60% attached homes?
That's what the ordinance states.
Okay. And given your familiarity with the Lower Makefield Township ordinance, you're aware that there are many permitted uses in a C3 zoning district, including an age-qualified community, correct?
There are many uses that are permitted by right, by special exception and conditional use, but most are not able to be developed on this site.
Okay. You identify those many uses in your report at the bottom of page 5 and at the top of page 6, correct?
Yes,
And you did the same in your direct testimony, which can be found in the transcript at the bottom of page 37 and the top of page 38, correct?
yes,
Okay. And there, as I indicated, there are a number of different uses, for example, daycare facility, kindergarten, nursery school, et cetera, correct?
yes,
And the applicant in this case, the LLC, has chosen to develop one of those uses, specifically an age-qualified community, correct?
correct. That was the most compatible use.
Okay. Had the applicant chosen to develop a different use, Section 200-47A3 would not have been an issue in this matter, correct?
Most of the uses permitted by right would be not permitted on this tract because of the lot size and the narrowness of the lot.
Okay. I don't know that you answered my question, though. My question was that, are you ruling out that there was no other use that could be developed on this property other than an age-qualified townhome community?
Pick a use.
Any of the uses that you identified in your report?
Okay, let's look at agriculture. It requires 5 acres. Does not comply. Variance required. Automobile body shop needs 10 acres. Cemetery needs 5 acres. Conventional convenience store needs 10 acres. A crematorium may be provided on the property if it has 1 acre, but there are other certain circumstances that would apply from state laws. Daycare centers would require 10 acres. Emergency services would require 2 acres, but other requirements would apply to this site, which would not be permitted.
And just for clarification, this tract is a 3.551 acre tract?
Yes.
Okay.
Funeral homes. Funeral homes would need 10 acres. General business, professional governmental office would require 10 acres. A health or fitness center would require 10 acres. A hospital would require 10 acres. A kennel would require 10 acres. A large retail store would require 10 acres. A light manufacturing use would require 10 acres. A medical office would require 10 acres. A mobile home park would require 15 acres. A nursery, horticulture, or greenhouse would require 5 acres. A nursing home would require 5 acres. A research and development facility would require 10 acres. A restaurant would require 10 acres. A restaurant with drive-through service would require 10 acres. A retail or personal service establishment would require 10 acres. A service station would require 10 acres. A vehicle sales would require 10 acres. Veterinary office or hospital would require 10 acres. A warehouse and distribution facility would require 10 acres. A wholesale use would require 10 acres. An accessory use would not be applicable because it would correlate with the principal use. A forestry or timber harvesting facility would require 2 acres, but statewide requirements would also apply. An age-qualified retirement community would require 10 acres.
I didn't hear you address a daycare facility.
I did.
I'm sorry.
Daycare facility would require 10 acres.
Okay, nursery school?
I said that also. Nursery school was 5 acres.
Kindergarten?
Kindergarten is referenced under, it's put in the line item with daycare or group daycare and nursery school and kindergarten, 10 acres.
So I heard you say there were, I believe, at least 2 other uses that would require less than 3.551 acres.
But they would require outside agency review, and this site would never qualify for those.
And your opinion is based on what?
Experience, 41 years.
Okay. When you were asked your opinion at the hearing on August 5th of 2025 about whether this property could be developed for the proposed townhome use, you indicated that in accordance with the zoning code of 60% attached homes, you indicated that it would be impractical to do so due to the shape and size of the lot, correct?
That's correct, and that would be because if you integrate the single-family homes with the townhouses or apartments, then you would not be able to have a linear design. The townhouse option that has been proposed does provide a linear design and is compatible with all of the surrounding properties.
Okay, but you did not say, however, in your testimony that there was no possibility to develop this property for any other use that would be in strict compliance with the Lower Makefield Township zoning code, correct?
I don't believe that the provisions for age-qualified community, including the 10-acre requirement, as well as the mix of uses, can be accomplished.
Well, the standard is not practicality, but impossibility. You did not testify that it would be impossible to develop this tract for any other type of use in strict compliance with the zoning code.
Zoning relief would be required to permit this use, but this use is the most compatible use to the surrounding neighborhood.
Would you agree with me that you didn't address the impossibility requirement in your direct testimony?
I don't understand that question.
The code subsection 2 of the municipality's planning code 910.2, as well as the Lower Makefield Township ordinance, zoning code ordinance, requires a showing by the applicant that there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning code. You did not address that issue in your direct testimony, did you?
It's in my report.
Well, your report and your notes of testimony simply say that it would be impractical.
My report does specify that the uses cannot be developed on this site that are permitted by right by special exception, which I did not go through yet, or by conditional use, which I did not go through yet. The report was entered as an exhibit.
I want to direct your attention, I'm going to read to you from your direct testimony, page 41, from the hearing of August 5th. The question that was asked, now, what are the reasons why you do not want a mix on a small number of lots here to have singles and attached dwellings? Why? Answer, it would be impractical because the lot is just too small and the area would be best designed because of its linear fashion with townhouse units in groups.
That's what I just testified to, again, and I confirmed that you cannot intermix on this 3.55 acre property, a single-family home, townhouses or apartments, whatever the case may be, and the required mix because of the linear design or linear width of the property. Integrating single-family homes is impossible.
I accept that with regard to the proposed use. My question relates to, did you or did you not testify with regard to the practicality of that use rather than the lack of possibility that the property could be developed for some other use in conformity strictly with the zoning code?
I really don't understand your question.
Take a look at the requirements, sir. The requirement states that because of such physical circumstances or conditions, there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning ordinance. Take the two examples from your list of uses that do not require more than 3.551 acres to develop. Is there no possibility that either of those uses could be developed on that property, even with additional approvals that may be necessary?
Zoning relief would be required, and that is the purpose of this board.
So it is possible.
Yes, but we chose the most compatible use.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I have no other questions.
I have no questions.
You have no additional questions?
None.
You rested?
None.
Rested your cross-examination?
I have.
Board? Anybody have any questions? I have a question. So Mr. Nemiroff is asking about what would be allowable, which wouldn't, and there's two uses by right that would not require, it sounded like they would not require variance, but they would require outside state agency approvals and such. What were those two uses? And then could you elaborate on what type of additional requirements, which agencies would make those requirements?
There's three uses. One being a crematorium, which would require 1 acre, and that would require state approval. The other is emergency services, which would require 2 acres, but there are other specifications that do apply under section 200-68A11. But that would also be either the local or regional fire department's proof that they can comply. The lot's too narrow. The other is a
I'm sorry, real fast.
Yeah.
Before we get away from it. So the crematorium and would require, help me understand, what state agency is going to require what?
That'd be state permitting procedures for handling a corpse, I believe.
Okay. And then the emergency services, just help me understand that.
The emergency services does have specifications separately written in 200-68A11, which deal with compatibility within the neighborhood. And it does meet the lot size, but do not think it would meet the other requirements that would be specified for
which are?
Would be the response, the width of the property, which would allow the fire trucks or ambulance services to go through. If there was just an ambulance service, it may have the possibility to be located at this location.
The third use, please?
The third use is a funeral home, which again goes back to the same thing as the crematorium. The funeral home would require state permitting requirements due to, again, handling of a corpse.
Okay, so those three uses, it sounds like wouldn't require variances from this board, but would require additional approvals from outside agencies and such.
Yes,
Is your opinion that that would be more onerous than variance basis? Is that what you're trying to communicate?
Yeah.
You did communicate?
yes.
I just want to make sure I understand. Just when we're off this time to ask those questions and maybe respectful of questions he asked. Right now, that's all of my questions.
Okay, as Mr. Flager said earlier, this matter.
If the board does not have any additional questions, then I would say that Mr. Nemiroff can make a brief argument to the board, followed by Mr. Garden.
Thank you, and I will make it brief. As I'm sure all of you can tell, I'm sorry. As all of you can tell, we took issue with what I will call a burden of proof issue. There are 5 requirements that have to be met. There has to be a showing by the applicant that all 5 requirements are met in order to qualify for a hardship to essentially be excused from complying with the zoning code in connection with the attached home requirement. During the hearing of August 5th, 2025, no evidence was introduced in the applicant's case on that point. They attempted to justify their showing by claiming that it was simply impractical to develop the proposed townhome plan in accordance with the zoning ordinance that requires no more than 60% attached homes. Yes, it's a technical requirement, but it's also a legal requirement. And the standard is not impracticality. The standard is, and it's, I take the language right from the code, and I've alluded to it. It's the lack of possibility of the property being developed in strict accordance with the zoning hearing code, with the zoning code. The absence of any evidence on that point resulted in a failure on the part of the applicant to meet its burden of proof in this case. And the decision to develop a townhome community that requires a variance that does not strictly apply or comply with the zoning code, to develop a townhome community was a self-created hardship, particularly in a situation where there were 1 or 2 other possible uses to be made of this property, even though outside approvals may have been necessary. This act doesn't qualify it by saying the lack of possibility unless outside approvals are necessary. It's very clear, and the language should be applied and should be strictly on its face. That's what's required. Once again, the hardship that is being promoted here is one based on impracticality, not impossibility. And for that reason, the application should be denied. Thank you.
If I may, obviously, the board approved the prior request for variances subject to a back and forth by reducing the number of units by one, by preserving the old house, by reducing the impervious surface level for the proposed project, and including a buffer for adjoining neighbors. But more importantly, I think we demonstrated previously the nature of why the relief was appropriate. And in fact, Mr. Nemiroff, through the testimony on cross of my planner, reconfirmed that by going through the litany of permitted uses within the C3 zoning district. I believe it's C3, am I right? Which, as you can see, there are no permitted uses other than two speculations about a crematorium and a funeral home and an emergency facility that may not even meet the requirements for width. So I think the applicant has demonstrated that a townhouse project is appropriate. The only question is how many. It's not a question of having townhouses. You can have townhouses, but practically speaking, you can't do a mixed-use senior citizen housing project here because of the restrictions. And also, the board will remember that you previously approved a similar variance for a property that was much larger than this, right within the general vicinity. So I would reaffirm that the applicant believes they're entitled to the variance requested and previously approved.
Thank you. Adam, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, it just, board is free to discuss and consult as you normally would, and then vote on the application.
Okay. Would anyone like to make any points? Discussion? At this time, would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to affirm the previous decision of the board, zoning hearing board on Z25-13.
A second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Let the record show 5 in favor, no opposition. Thanks, Mr. Nemiroff.
Thank you.
At this time, we're gonna reshuffle some seats up here, and we're gonna let the room clear.
Do you have passwords?
It's just these two things, right?
Yeah, actually, that first one you don't need. Okay. Just this one. What is this? That's the one we just.
Oh, the old one.
So you see that the board kind of got reshuffled. That last matter was, we had already voted on a decision back in August, and the Court of Common Pleas remanded it back to us so Mr. Nemiroff could cross-examine those applicants. So Pete Solar was part of that original. He was on the board, and Rob Heinz, one of our alternates, attended the hearing. So they were up here. Now, Pete is now an alternate, and Rob's an alternate, and so we're bringing James back, and we're bringing Larry back. So the board now consists of the 5 regular members, not just alternates. The only reason I'm communicating that is so you understand why people are moving around in seats. All right, so next up on our agenda is PLZ-25-48. Please come forward and be sworn in.
No. I'm going to tell you that when we get to public comment, we might have to have an explanation of what qualifies someone for party
Yeah,
status.
Adam's going to do that. Yeah, me and Adam talked about that.
Good.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of people here that are not in the zone.
yeah.
Here's my call.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Will the witnesses state and spell the full names, please?
Raymond Gargano, Garganio.
Now, you're going to have to go up to the microphone.
Kestra Kelly, Kestra Kelly.
Guy DiMartino, Dimartino.
Do you all solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Adam?
All right. We are going to mark the exhibits as follows. We are going to have the application as A1, site plans as A2, the 5-sheet renderings as A3, the December 4th, 2025 letter from Kestra Kelly from BL Companies to Mike Kirk explaining the requested relief as A4, B1, proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and B3, notice to the neighbors. If there are additional exhibits for the applicant, they will begin at A5.
All right, you have the floor.
There we go. Good evening, Julie Von Spreckelsen from the law firm of Eastburn and Gray, here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Flagship Pennsylvania OpCo LLC, which is the lessee of the property located at 1675 Langhorne Yardley Road. The property is located in the C1 Commercial Neighborhood District. It's also within the TND, which is the Traditional Neighborhood Development Overlay District. The property is an undersized lot. It's 2.62 acres, so it's a non-conforming undersized lot. The lot area requirement is 5 acres in this zoning district. The existing conditions at the property include that it's a very highly irregularly shaped property. It's shape of a triangle, basically. And again, it's a non-conforming lot in terms of lot area. It is improved with a shuttered CVS pharmacy with drive-through use. and that comprises 9,952 square feet. It also has associated parking, lighting, landscaping, and stormwater management facilities on the site. So what the applicant is proposing is to redevelop and repurpose this shuttered CVS pharmacy with drive-through, which has been vacant for just about 2 years now. And they're able to repurpose it by making interior renovations to build and accommodate a state-of-the-art, environmentally friendly car wash. And I'll say at the outset, the flagship certainly understands the township residents have a lot of concerns, the township representatives have a lot of concerns, and we're hoping that through the testimony tonight of the flagship representatives that we can address all of those concerns. So I want to start, before I get to the testimony, to go through a little bit of the zoning relief that's being requested, because it's a little bit different maybe than what you've heard. So what we've requested is a use variance. This use is not permitted in this zoning district. It's not permitted in any zoning district. It's not provided for within your township ordinance. So we're asking for a use variance, or in the alternative, because of that fact, a de minimis use variance. And that de minimis variance, the basis of that requested relief is, again, the zoning ordinance does not allow for this use in any zoning district within the township. It's a legitimate land use. It's commercial in nature, and it's similar to the types of commercial uses permitted in the C1 neighborhood district. And it's similar to the shuttered CVS, the drive-through. And the basis of the de minimis use variance is the recent Commonwealth Court case of Solond versus Zoning Hearing Board of East Bradford Township. That's a 2024 Commonwealth Court case. And that case held that a use variance can be considered de minimis for zoning purposes. The court stated that if the use variance requested is more technical in nature than substantial, and it's reasonable and falls within the intent of the zoning ordinance, the use variance request may be considered de minimis. And a de minimis variance has no set criteria, and the grant of a de minimis use variance request depends on the circumstances of each case. And zoning hearing boards absolutely have discretion to grant a de minimis variance where the variation requested is minor and rigid compliance with the zoning ordinance is not necessary to protect public policy concerns. So again, here, the use variance requested is more technical than substantial because a car wash use is a legitimate land use that is not permitted in this township by the ordinance. And it's similar to the type of use that exists at the site today. And the district it's in is a commercial district. It's a commercial use going into a commercial district where this use is not permitted anywhere within the township. It has similar impacts as other C1 district uses, and it falls within the intent of the zoning ordinance, although it's technically barred because it's not permitted in any zoning district. The existing building does not need to be demolished. The site does not need to have really many changes to it. So it's just a minor request. They're repurposing, reusing a shuttered building that has been vacant for 2 years and needs to be redeveloped rather than sit empty on the premises. And then in the alternative, we're requesting a regular use variance, and that's because it's a non-conforming lot size and the layout of the fully developed property and the location of the existing building with the drive-through and other physical improvements to the property create the physical hardship. Also, it's a regular shape, and that hardship, a use variance is necessary in order to make reasonable use of the property based on those physical constraints of the property. So that's the little bit of a difference between the traditional use variance and a de minimis use variance, which is now being recognized by the courts. The only other relief that's needed, and it's another reason why this is a de minimis variance, there's no dimensional relief that's needed for this site at all. It complies. So the only other variance is to not require a loading berth because this type of use does not need a loading berth. We could put it, but it's going to add impervious coverage. So We can add impervious coverage to the site. We'd still comply with impervious coverage requirements, but we don't need a loading space for this type of use because there's no deliveries that are going to be bigger than a box truck to the site, so it's not needed. With that, I'm going to run through the exhibit booklet that I took the liberty of handing out to you. I believe Adam said I should start with A5, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so A5 will be tab 1 of the exhibit booklet, that's the deed to the property. A6 is tab 2, that's the redacted lease agreement between Cameron C. Troilo and Jean Troilo, and Flagship Pennsylvania Opco LLC. Tab 3 is the CV of Kestra Kelly. She's a professional engineer with I should have said A7. A7 is tab 3, and that's the CV of Kestra Kelly. She's a professional engineer with BL Companies. A8 is tab 4, which is an aerial photograph of existing property conditions, and also within that tab is existing conditions ALTA plan prepared by BL Companies dated August 28, 2025. A9, which is tab 5, is the Lower Makefield Township zoning map. A10 is tab 6, that's the rendered zoning plan prepared by BL Companies dated March 16, 2026. A11 is tab 7, building renderings prepared by BL Companies. A12 is tab 8, that's the CV of Guy DiMartino. He's a professional engineer with traffic planning and design. And A13 is tab 9, which is the traffic evaluation that are prepared by TPD dated November 14th, 2025. And with that, I would like to call my first witness. Ray, will you please state your full name?
Raymond Gargano, Garganio.
And by whom are you employed and in what capacity?
I'm employed by Spotless Brands, the parent company of Flagship. My position is Vice President of Development and Construction.
And how long have you been so employed?
3 years.
And what are your duties and responsibilities as VP of Development and Construction?
My job is to work with our team that helps our real estate department when they find sites. We do due diligence. We work with professionals to do our entitlements, permits, and then build the sites.
So you're familiar with the operations of the sites?
Absolutely.
And how many car wash sites have you assisted with in developing?
With Spotless, 20. With before that, with an earlier company, another 15, 10, 15.
And what is the relationship of Spotless Brands to the, you said it was the parent company, is that correct?
Spotless Brands is a parent company. It has 4 different car wash brands across the country. Spotless, or Flagship, is a brand that has started in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, moved into the Baltimore area, Maryland, and we have currently open sites in Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. The concept is not to be, we're staying tight, that doesn't sound like a tight area, but the concept is to not be all over the country, is to pick our spots and have good, solid coverage in those. And that's why we're looking at this location. One of the reasons we're looking at this location.
And would you provide a little bit of background on the company itself?
Spotless was started early 2020, 2021, and was meant to be exactly what I just talked about, a parent company. It went out and purchased 4 existing chains that were, and worked with those owners. Those owners stayed with the company. And some of them have left since then, but they stayed with the company for a while. They're still part of the company, but they're not day-to-day anymore. And we're continuing to do that. We grow 2 ways. We grow through new locations, and we purchase some locations.
And Have any flagship sites been approved and constructed in southeastern Pennsylvania?
Just currently, we've opened 2 sites in Pennsylvania. Trooper, that just opened right at the end of the year, early January, and Phoenixville, which opened after the first of the year. Phoenixville is very similar to the one we're talking about today. It was an existing pharmacy, and it is, for all intents and purposes, very close to what we're talking about right now. The one in Trooper is more of a standard that you see in different locations, where it's a wash and free vacuums. We also we're under construction on 2 additional sites, one in Philadelphia on Hubbardson and Tulip. It is also an existing site. It is not a pharmacy, it is an old gym. And we are doing a ground up in Chalfont on Butler and County Line Road. And we have a significant amount coming behind that, including sites, another pharmacy that is in Media, places like that. There's quite a list of them.
And are you familiar with the property and the lease agreement Flagship entered into with the property owner?
Yes, I am.
And when did Flagship enter into that lease
I
agreement?
believe we signed it right after Christmas on the 26th.
And to your knowledge, how long has the CVS been shuttered?
Around 2 years, although I believe they've been marketing it since '23.
Since 2023, is that?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with the proposed car wash development at the subject property?
Yes, I am.
And have you reviewed the plans and reports that are contained in the exhibit booklet?
Yes, I have,
And have you been to the site and surrounding area?
several times.
Okay, so why is Flagship interested in this property for development and operation of a car wash?
There's a handful of reasons. The first reason, that catches us initially is it's an existing empty building that we can redevelop. That is something we're trying to do a lot of. We're trying to go into these existing buildings. Across our entire chain, there's somewhere around 30 that we're working on. Now, not all of them are going to happen, but that's a portion of what we're looking to build. We feel like it's a good way for us to go. And we do believe it adds value. The second thing we're doing is Yardley. This Lower Makefield Yardley is a great location. It's a great area. It has when we look at sites, we try to figure out what type of car wash can go into that site. What we're recommending here is our best version of what we have. It's a wash. It's an inside full service on 12-foot wide belts that run right through. You get out of your car, it runs down, people clean it, comes out, and there's also free vacs. So what we're doing is we're coming into a site. We want to take this existing building. We're going to put a significant amount of money into the inside. We'll get into it, I think, a little bit later on what we're talking about, what we're looking at doing on the outside, and for a lease. But we believe that this is, from our experience, from our demographics and our studies, it's a great location for this type of wash.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to describe the car wash operations proposed for this property, and I'll refer you to, if you could put up the rendered site plan, please, Jim. And that is tab, got to go back to A. That is A10, which is tab 6, the rendered zoning plan.
Okay.
So please walk us through the operations, hours of operation, how the site works, et cetera.
Okay, this is not going to work. My pointer's going on the wall, but it's not going on the screen. So I think I can talk you through it either way. Got one? Yeah, it's working up on the wall.
It may not go exactly where it goes.
Top
We'll
button?
do our best.
Oh. Okay.
Mr. Gargano, would you just pull that microphone a little closer since you're...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm
Or
sorry.
you can take the one out of the...
Grab the one up here if you'd like.
You know, it might be easier if I do that and stand closer to it.
Absolutely.
Okay. The way this works, I'll step around so everybody else can see it also. Do it. You come in this area here. We're going to come into that's the area that's where the POS, where the sale is. Now, these are 3 locations. Our system runs. Well, our system runs on using members, and like a lot of them do. Whereas a membership system, the outside lane is for members. These are different than a lot of the drive-ups that you'd see in a lot of areas. They don't talk, so you're not going to get that sound that you get at a QSR of fast food that travels around. This, I think our traffic engineer will get into it. We have stacking that comes in. This is an in only down at the bottom. Talking down here, that's in only. And we go up to the POS, and after you get to the POS, you loop around and go. This section here is the wash tunnel. It's like a lot of wash tunnels you'd see in a lot of locations. It is very high end from a standpoint. It's very new equipment. All car washes. You got a car wash 10 years ago. It's a lot different than car washes now, and it does a good job. And again, I think we'll get into some of the issues on that too. Then what you do is you come out of the wash. You have 2 choices. You're either going to go loop back in and go through there's 2 what we call them dry belts. They are full serve tunnels. They are 12 foot wide. We do have some pictures of them. I'll put them up so everybody can see them. It goes through here, and that's where you get your full serve. You pull in, they take out they do your mats, they wash the windows, they vacuum everything, they wash it's not a detail, but it's somewhere between what you get at a lot of full service type car washes and a detail. Or you go to the free vacuums that are here, that go. I'm going to get into some of the issues, I believe, in my testimony on some of the issues that I think people have concerns with here, but that's the general flow of where it's going.
More about the operations, number of employees, hours, days of the week.
This site will, we're normally open 7 days a week, but we're only open 8 to 8. In the winter, we'll close normally earlier than that because people don't come as you get later in the winter. So we're only 8 to 8. We're not like some of the locations that could go in that could be multiple hours. There's a handful of employees. There's an employee that will be at the POS. Because they don't talk, we always have somebody there to help people get through. They're going to help them get the cards in, make sure they hit the right buttons.
Excuse me, when you say they don't talk, you're saying that there's no speaker?
There's no speakers on the POSs. Okay. So what you have there is you have an employee who's going to help keep the traffic moving, keep the people going through. There'll be a person that will work and keep the outside clean. And then there is a crew of people that'll be inside doing the cleaning of the cars. That's that. Should I get into the other issues, or you want to?
Deliveries. Tell us about the
Okay,
deliveries.
the deliveries on this site. The reason why we don't have an area, all our deliveries are going to come in a truck the size of an Amazon van. The soaps that we use come in 5-gallon pails. The other things we get are new towels, trash bags, things like that. They all come in a truck the size of an Amazon van. The other thing about the vacuums, just to add to it, is each vacuum has compressed air, has multiple towels it can use, all those sort of things.
Okay, so now let's turn to what we know are perceived impacts. I mean, from developing a lot of these sites, I'm sure that you have heard, a lot of concerns
Absolutely.
raised by neighboring property owners, by township representatives and such. So can you run through some of the perceived impacts and how they're mitigated?
Let's hit the first one. The first one that always comes up is sound. And sound is always a concern of ours, and we have done some preliminary reports on sound here. To start out, and I'll go through some of the details how we get there, this site will meet the community levels of sound that are required. All the equipment that is inside the building all the equipment that runs it is inside. The vacuums have one unit. This is not where each vacuum has a motor. The vacuums there's a motor here and there's a motor here. On some of the sites that we've done in the past, they're just sitting there, they're outside. Here we wouldn't do that because we want to make sure for sound to some extent, but also for aesthetics, these units for the vacuums will be enclosed in buildings, and they will match whatever architectural touches that we want to do here, and I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit, because right now that'll lower that sound. The other place the sound comes from on these buildings is the tunnel itself. We're going to treat that sound by using special blowers inside that are muffled. We put sound in grabbing panels inside that section, and we make that door coming out, because the sound that's coming out is over here, most of it. We make it very small so it doesn't blast out of there. From a standpoint of the code here, from a sound standpoint, this building will meet the code for sound. The second issue that people are concerned about is environmental. This wet tunnel, the water that's in the wet tunnel is meant to stay in the wet tunnel. Everything comes back to the section. There's it's on a big belt, not a chain like you see at some of the old ones, where it stays inside. That water is, when it stays inside, goes into our reclaim system. That reclaim system will reuse about 40% of the water. Some of the systems can they'll do a little bit more, but for consistency, 40% is a number that we know we can make. So we're reclaiming 40% of the water. It gets gathered, goes through a separating system, goes back in the building, gets cleaned, and is used for the lower parts of the vehicle. Now, the other thing that happens is you'll see on some of these sites, you look at that and you hear me say, okay, the water stays inside. You'll see some water come out the front here. There's two things that's about. First, underneath, when you first go in, the car is washed by clean water for the undercarriage. That is not any chemicals in that water. You'll see some of that when you come out because that inside is still dripping. The advantage of that is that's taking a lot of chemicals, grease, things that if you're in a rainstorm and you're driving around your car is going to go into your storm system. When it's caught here, it doesn't go into the storm system. It goes into our reclaim system. It settles out, and it's taken out of these settling tanks every 3 or 4 months. And the water that goes through goes back into a cleaning system that goes in here, and you're not getting that heavy, you're not getting that type of dirt. And the water that doesn't go back into the system goes into the sanitary sewer. Now, the other thing we're doing there, if you take some look, I mentioned Trooper earlier. Trooper is a site we built that opened at the end of the year. We started in the middle. One of the things that we didn't do at Trooper that we're going to do here and we're doing at our future sites is we take this area here and an area here, here on the exit and up here, and we put heated concrete. Now that's for two things. One, when people come out of the wash in the winter, you're not getting a lot of ice, you're not getting a lot of stuff. And here it's just easier for us not to have to shovel that out. But when it comes out here, the advantage that's going to give you is that's going to give you the ability for that water that does come off, it's going to evaporate. Now, I talked about the undercarriage water that drips, and you'll see some of that, which is, again, clean water from our reclaim system. The last rinse that you get in this, when you come out of here, is what they call spot-free rinse. It's clean water. It's water that goes through reverse osmosis, and it's, I've been told it's cleaner than the water that comes out of your faucet. And that's so you don't get any spots. And it doesn't give you that sort of thing. So most of the water that does come out of here is going to be generally clean water that will, because of the heated concrete, hopefully will evaporate all of it. That's sound, that's environmental. The other thing about the environmental is one of the things that we like to tell people, and it's in a lot of different reports. We're going to use, when you wash a car here, just under 20 gallons of fresh water per car. When you do a car in your driveway, it's anywhere from 30 to 50. So it also saves water if you're going to wash your car that way. The last thing is we talked about traffic. The one interesting thing about this site is that it will get less. This site overall will have less traffic trips than the CVS. And our traffic engineer will talk to that. That's not, there's some caveats in that, and he'll go through them. But overall, weekly, we'll have less trips. We've done studies at our busiest locations, and the way we run these things, we need, at the busy locations we have, we'll get 20 stacks here. We have at least 16 here, 9 going in. We're well above that. We should never stack on the road. It won't happen. If for some reason something were to happen and we'd start getting it back up for mechanical reasons or something, we will put somebody on the road. We will make sure people don't come in. We will not let people do. We've at some locations we put a gate, and I'd be willing to put it, where if we get traffic, we close the gate, everybody drives by. And then from that point, it's a matter of flow through the site.
Let's turn your attention to the aesthetics of the building.
The aesthetics of the building. When Kester comes up, she'll show you our first run at the building.
Right. Not to interrupt you, but we can put up the renderings for you to reference.
Okay, this rendering is the first. Okay. Oh, that. This rendering, I think there's a couple of them in there, was when we first did this location. We know that when CVS came in to get it approved, the different boards in the town, said what they wanted and how they wanted it to look. I'm not sure that this look is still what we're looking for. But we stuck with it at first, really to get in front of the different boards and see where that falls out. We are very comfortable agreeing to, and again, when Kester gets up here, she'll go through it, of looking at other options for what the aesthetic should be here and how it would work. I talked about Trooper early. Trooper is a wood clapboard building with stone, you can like it or not like it, but it was an agreement between us and the Trooper boards on this was a look that they liked up there. I'm not sure, I'm confident that's probably not the look you're looking for here, but we do have options. We have prototypes, we know what we want to look like, but we also recognize when we come into places like Yardley, we need to address that. So we are very open to looking at it, and I believe when we get up a little bit later, Kester will have an alternate that we were messing around with, but I think that's, again, has to be part of the conversation. I don't know which, if it's the supervisors, I don't know if it's planning, but we are very open to working through what the aesthetic will look like.
Okay, so with regard to sites that are open and operating, have you received complaints from neighboring property owners?
It'd be crazy to say we never ever have gotten a complaint. We do get, you're going to get some complaints. What I would tell you is, we've never gotten into an issue where we had a violation or we had a summons or a violation that we have to take back. When we have issues that are a problem, we work them out. We try to figure out how to do. I mean, you know, a site like this, some of the things that we have not gotten totally into is how do we buffer the site? How do we lay things out? We have a site that we just opened, another Rite Aid that we took in New Jersey, where we have a neighbor who was not against the site, but after we opened it, the way the traffic is, it's, you know, he's kind of put his hand up and said, this isn't working for me. We're working through some options, some soundproofing, fencing, and things like that to it. We're not going to walk into a situation and be at odds with the local community. That is the last thing we want. So we want to fix those things.
Okay, I want to turn your attention to the variance that we're requesting to not provide the loading space.
Yes.
So why is that not needed?
Again, the truck that we use for deliveries is like an Amazon van. It normally is going to come either before we open or right around when we open, when there's not a whole lot of cars there. It pulls into a spot, they come out, the workers go out there, they grab the 5-gallon jugs, they take them back into the back room, and they put them in there, and they're done, and the van leaves. It's not necessary. I believe our design, we could put one. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense to put one, and it would just take more of our, impervious area, and we'd do something like that. But
And have there been any operational or safety issues without having a loading space at any of your sites?
no, there has not.
Okay, so finally, in your opinion, what do you say will be the impact of this use if it's permitted and it moves forward?
I really believe will be a positive impact. We're taking an empty building. We're going to make a viable, modern, good-looking site. We are a good corporate citizen. We hire locally. We support communities. We support, in our different areas, we support high school teams, we support youth teams, we support community services, community fairs, and whatever else. There's a place down, there's several locations down in the DC area. I'm local, but I also manage the DC area. Down in DC area, every Halloween they have a fright night thing at a handful of car washes. I'm baffled, but they're incredibly, a lot of people come to them. We partner with the drama clubs from the various high schools. They get credits for it, and they do things. So that's the type of things we do. We don't want to come into a town and just be a car wash. That's just not the intent.
Thank you, Ray. That's all I have of this witness.
Okay, what I'd like to do at this time is, trying to think if I want to take a recess now for a bathroom break or direct questions to Mr. Gargano. Anyone on the board need a bathroom break at this time? We're going to take a 5-minute recess, everybody. Okay, class is back in session. Ms. Von Spreckelsen, what I'd like to do is have the board direct questions to each witness as they come. And at this time, I'd like to ask the board to direct whatever questions they have that are pertinent to Mr. Gargano. Whoever would like to start.
I'll have a go. So I have a handful of items here I want to get around to.
Certainly.
Let's start with the traffic.
Yes.
At the point of service where people come in and pay or flash their badge for their membership, whatever.
Yes.
How many cars can queue up from that point back out to the street?
From that point back, it's, I believe, 16. And from that point forward, it's 9.
Okay. And do you have any prospectus on the numbers of cars you would see on an average day or during a busiest time, things of that nature? I'm sure you have a track record with your other sites.
We do. Give me a second. Hold on a second. Are you going to speak to that? On the cars and how they come in? Can that wait for our traffic engineer?
That's fine.
Because he's done the studies, and I don't want to guess and be.
No,
different
that's
than that.
fine. And noise, you talked about some of the things you do for noise
Yes.
resistance. So most of the car washes I've gone to have those high-powered blowers at the end of
Absolutely.
the line, and they're pretty noisy.
They're very noisy.
They're very noisy. And tell me about the vacuum system. You said that you have just a motor somewhere.
The vacuum system is a central system. I can go through both. I'll go through the
Okay.
Let me go through the blowers for you first. What we do different on the blowers are the loudest thing at a car wash are the blowers. Even those old tube vacuums aren't going to be as loud as the blowers are. So we do a handful of things with the blowers. First, there's a couple different levels of blower that get quieter and quieter. Our regular blower, which if you just put it in there, is probably not as loud as the older ones but it's still pretty loud. We can buy a muffler for that. That costs a certain amount of money, we put it in. Or we go to a different model of blower, which is called a Predator. It's a style which is significantly lower. That's the first thing to do. So we spend the extra money to get the lower blowers because wherever we go, the first thing we're doing is we're doing a preliminary study saying, can we even make the sound here work part of the town? Your sound code's slightly lower than a lot of the people around you here, so we had to go in and say, hey, we need to hit that 60 megahertz at the property line outside those blowers. And that meant we went and we did a different type of blower. On top of that, we make the door smaller than we normally would make it so less noise can get out. Inside, we put sound absorbing panels to keep it. When we add all those things together, it limits the sound coming out of the exit of the tunnel and helps us hit that limit that's in your code. That's what we do there. On the vacuums, there is a single either 25, 40, or 50 horse motor that sucks a certain amount of 15 or so vacuums, and it's a central system. Now, in the big picture of things, that is not as loud as the blowers, but it still can make some noise. In locations like this, where we want to make sure that we're hitting all the buttons, not only for sound, but for aesthetics, we don't always put those. If we're on a major highway and there's nobody around and nobody particularly cares, you see the tank that has the dirt in it, and you see the motor. Mm-hmm. Like when we come to Yardley, we come to Lower Makefield, we're not going to do that. We're going to put it inside of a building, build around it, soundproof it, and make sure there's no sound and you don't get that ugly look. Which it's not. It's mechanical, but it's.
So the exit door of the wash line where the blowers are, that faces, as I'm looking at the site here, that faces towards, there's a church right across the lot there. And and I understand that there's a project going in over here. I'm not sure of the location. The Point, isn't that a bunch of townhouses, Jim, over there? Where's that being built?
That is being built to the west of this site at the corner of Edgewood and Yardley Langhorne.
Okay.
At our property line, we will be below 60 megahertz, which is the town's requirement. As you
Okay.
get further away, it'll go down to less.
And that's 60 decibels.
Decibels, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we covered the noise, the traffic's going to come. Also environmental, we're looking for environmental friendly as well. There is a large retention basin in the front of the site.
Yes.
And there's also, on the side of the site, there's a stream that runs through there.
Yes, sir.
So I think a lot of people are going to be concerned how you're mitigating this water runoff that comes from the wash process, all the oils and
All the-
other debris that washes off the cars. How are you preventing that from seeping into the ground?
Everything inside that wet tunnel slopes back to the middle. So what you're doing is the water that's being used is going on the car, underneath the car, all that's going, and it goes into a trench as you drive through. That trench then goes out to 3 continuous 2,000-gallon settling tanks. So all the greases, the dirts, all those things fall out. And as it gets to the last one, generally clean water goes back into the building. It goes through a reclaim system that cleans it one more time, and then it goes back in and gets reused. That's 40% of the water. The water that doesn't go back into the system, it goes through a oil water separator and into the sewer system. All the chemicals, all the soaps that we use are biodegradable. They all have been approved by, you just go across how many car washes there are. They're approved, they break down, they work in sanitary sewer systems. Now, there's sometimes, when you come out, you'll see some car washes, and some of ours will do it. You have that 20, 30 feet that you're going to get some dripping. Like I said earlier, most of that is that clean water that's coming off, that's up inside the motor and the engine, which was up in there, or it's that last rinse that it goes through, what's left from that. Most of it is that clean rinse from underneath that's blowing off the dirt and the oils and putting into the reclaim system. We are going to mitigate that a little bit more by having heated concrete.
Okay. The tanks that this reclaimed water is going to collect in, are they below ground?
They're below ground, they're concrete.
They're concrete tanks.
Concrete precast tanks. There's no gaps in them. They're solid concrete.
Okay. I'm assuming they're going to be waterproofed on the exterior.
Yes, they're waterproof. They're thick. There's water's not getting out of those.
You touched on complaints that you may have had or not had from neighbors, right? And you talked about the one that after they opened up, you're trying to work with a neighbor.
That is very current.
What other kind of complaints can we kind of just throw out there that you've had? As minor as they may seem to you.
It's usually minor stuff. They hear the cars, they see the lights. I mean, that's one of the things we need to do. We always look at is as cars come around and it's getting dark, where the lights are shining. We work through all that. Sometimes we do it with trees, sometimes we do it with fences. We don't get a lot of. I talked today to one of our vice president of operations, and because this is always a question that comes up. I said, how many complaints we get? We don't get a lot of complaints. We've got like 12 or 15 locations that have residential around them. We don't get a lot of complaints. When we get them, it becomes a very important thing that we go in and we get it fixed, because it's the last thing we need. I don't want to be coming to a board like this and saying, oh yeah, we get a lot of complaints, and that's so we try to fix them.
So mentioning the headlights, and you talked about your hours of operation, probably in season being 8 to 8. As we come late in the year into the fall, and the sun starts to set earlier and earlier, do you roll back your hours?
We
so
do,
that we don't have the light problem?
I'm willing to have that specified, but normally we do it ourselves. I would tell you when I do get it specified, sometimes we close before that. You don't get traffic when it starts getting dark. It's just That's the experience that we've had. But I'm willing to work through that with the board if there's some limits on that. I mean, you know, I would ask for it to be reasonable.
So the building footprint that's there now, you're basically keeping that?
The only thing we're taking down is the drive-through in the back.
Right.
Now, when we talk about some alternative layouts, there may be some things where it pops out, pops in, if that architecturally works. But yeah, generally, it's staying exactly, the building's staying the way it is.
So the last question I have for you, and I will probably have a follow-up for Mr. Majewski.
Yeah,
You're looking for a variance to not have a loading berth,
yes.
right? CVS is the same size. Were they not required to have a loading berth? or-
They were, but remember that I used to work for a pharmacy. Their deliveries are tractor trailers. Ours aren't. Ours are coming in a van.
So is there a loading berth there now?
There is, yes. It's a loading dock.
Okay,
We'll be filling that. and
Got
it's,
it.
you know, so it's a significant loading dock.
got it. That's all I have for now.
Hi. Thank you for your time, Mr. Gargano.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So in terms of the ownership of the property, is that something, I don't know, council wants to address? Is this a deal that's subject to approval by the authorities before it actually goes forward?
It's a lease. They're leasing this property.
Who's they?
Flagship.
Okay.
Flagship is leasing it. There is a lease agreement, and yes, it wouldn't start running in terms of paying rent until they obtain approvals, if they obtain approvals.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of other permitted uses at this site, we're looking at things like banks, funeral homes, gymnasiums, medical facilities. Those would all be permitted, right?
In the C1 district?
Yep.
I would have to look at them, but whatever is listed in the C1 district.
Right.
And again, it depends on property size and such. This is an undersized lot,
Right.
and a lot of those uses require 5 acres.
Understood. But from a standpoint of whether or not they're permitted or not, they are permitted specifically under C1 zoning. The vacuum booms, the dryers, do you have any specifics on decibel levels that are created by all of that equipment?
Yes, I will when I get when we get to the point where we have a final design and it's and we're moving.
Yeah, the microphone.
I'm sorry. When we get a final design and we're moving toward site plan approval or planning board approval, we finalize our sound study, which lays all that out. I don't have that off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but
You've not done that for other
yeah,
facilities you have?
I have, but I don't, how each one reacts. And what I do know is the way we've laid out this one, the preliminary plan, when you come out the loudest part of the space is that exit of that tunnel, we're under 60 at the property line. That's what I know. And it differs.
You're under 60, what?
Decibels.
Decibel?
Yeah. What we do is each time we do it, it's different because I have different versions of those blowers I can put in there, which changes how it comes out. It's just a matter of what we end up needing, what we put in there, how it works.
All right. I'm concerned about the sound, obviously, for the neighbors. I'm concerned because the Veterans Square is immediately behind this property. I'm concerned because the church is close by. You've talked about the fact that you've done comparisons on the CVS traffic usage, but I think the traffic report I saw said that you've got to extrapolate a little bit because the data that you have is only based on existing properties that are smaller than the one proposed here. Is that correct?
I think that would be a better question for the traffic engineer who will be testifying.
You don't know the answer to that off the top of your head?
It's not for this witness to answer, it's for the traffic engineer to answer.
Well, I thought he might have talked to the traffic engineer and he might know the answer. Do you know the answer or not?
I believe the sites that we I believe the sites, I would rather he answer it because he has the specifics, but I would tell you, I believe the sites that he's talked to are certainly are busier than what we expect this one to be.
Okay. Sewer and water impact as compared to the CVS. Is this gentleman the appropriate witness to address that? Counsel?
If he knows.
Significant.
We're back to knowing.
It's significant more. We use a lot more water than CVS would use.
Okay. And more sewer impact, correct?
Absolutely.
And I think you said from a lighting standpoint, you would try to do what's necessary to minimize the impact of that, meaning downward-facing lighting and things of that nature?
Oh, yeah, we would meet all the codes, and we keep, put the shields on them, all the stuff that you need to.
Okay. And the wastewater that you talked about that goes into these concrete tanks, you've got to bring in trucks to pull that out periodically?
Not the water, but the sediment that settles will every, some places it's every 3 months, some places it's every 6 months. It's just how they fill. They keep track of them. There's a meter that gives them an alarm. They come with a suck truck and they take out the sediment.
Okay. Can you do me a favor? I'm a little confused from an operational standpoint. So when you come into the facility, you go through the washing belt, correct?
Yes.
And you come out and you make a hard left,
You make a hard left.
all right?
Yep.
And then you come back and there's 2 rows there. Those are, what are those?
Those 2 rows are, it's two 12-foot, it's two entrances. They're 12-foot wide belts that you pull onto. It's a loading belt. You pull your car onto a belt that's not moving. It's about 20 feet long. You get out of the car and you walk up to the waiting area. Then that loading belt puts your,
Well,
can I,
yeah, sure. We're going to have to make that an exhibit.
can I bring up to you?
Bring the microphone with you. There you go.
Okay. That's what they look like.
All right, so you go, so the people stay in the car when it goes through the wash cycle, yes?
They stay in the car while you go through the wash cycle.
Okay,
You go on the 20-foot loading belt. You get out of your car. It puts it on an 80-foot working belt where it goes through that belt, and it is cleaned. The windows are done, the rugs are done, the mats are done. They make sure they do the door jams and do everything they need to do.
okay. And when they go through that, if they want to have it vacuumed, they've got to go back
They
on-
vacuum it during that. If you go through the full service, those
Yep.
belts, it's all getting vacuumed.
So why do you need the vacuum pods, if you will?
It's a different level wash. If you're not going through the full serve, you can buy something that's similar to other car washes you see where you go through it and you go directly to the vacuums and vacuum it yourself.
Okay.
Free vacs.
Okay, thank you. Do you know whether or not any type of EPA approval would be needed for this site?
We've not needed any EPA approval.
So it's only subject to?
We do, before we buy a site or release a site, we do a phase 1. If we need a phase 2, we do it, but we would not need any approvals for this site, no.
Either federal or state?
None.
And nothing else?
If I may, I would just like to identify that exhibit for the record. It's going to be A14 tab, or no, yeah, A14 tab 10, we'll call it, and that's interior photos of the car wash.
Nothing more from me.
Thank you so much. Just a couple questions. I just looked up a couple of the locations that you were speaking of. The one in Phoenixville, is that 200 Kim Burton Road? Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that one is zoned MG, Mixed Use Growth District?
Yes.
No variance needed?
We'll have the project engineer.
Okay. And then just for
There's very few sites we do that don't need either special exception or use variance.
Okay.
Because of just how most, it's just, we run into that a lot.
and aesthetically at that location, you have Wawa, Taco Bell, Starbucks, Giant, right? It's in
Yes.
a pretty busy
Yes, we do.
commercial area. The location in Trooper, I believe the zoning for that is a Ridge Pike Business District, and for that one, you needed a conditional use approval from the Board of Supervisors,
Yes.
correct? And then again, that location in proximity is a Dairy Queen, Advanced Auto Parts, Pep Boys, AutoZone, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about Trooper?
Yeah, the Trooper one.
There's also a Lidl and a TD Bank.
Okay. The New Jersey location, where exactly is that located?
There's several. There's one in Vineland, New Jersey.
Okay. And without looking them up, are they in similar type of commercial districts?
The one in Vineland is less, but there's a Wawa across the street.
Okay. And similar to our site, it looks like the you may have had some watershed and streams. It looks like on the. Let me go back to the location. I believe it was the Trooper location, 200 Kim Burton Road. French Creek is right there, and then there was another creek south of that. So obviously, you had to go through the environmental study to make sure everything that you were doing was.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's drainage all through there. It's I believe we're a good distance away from any creeks there.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gargano, can you explain the lighting plan for this site? Just describe it to me. I don't see anything in any of the exhibits about a lighting plan, but what should the neighbors expect?
Site lighting.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is when we're doing, and this, again, Kestra probably can speak to this better, but what we will do is we will lay out the amount of lighting that is required to meet the township requirements for light, for spread, for, maximum to minimum, and we will shield the lights properly so that the light stays on our property. I mean, it's kind of what we do on all of our sites. We need to meet the code. We need to get the right amount of light because you will have a code that says this is what you get, this is max, this is min. You cannot have too huge of a ratio between the two, and you need to shield it so we're not spilling light onto the areas around it. That's what we'll do. Now, the advantage that we bring is for a good portion of the year, and even as we get into winter, that we are shutting our lights off as long as the town is. We shut the lights off when we shut the building down, so they'll be, the worst case scenario is like 8:15, the lights are off. In the winter, they'll be off a little bit sooner. I say the only caveat to that is we have some towns that, ask us to leave a certain amount of lights on, and we do that. So it's a request from the locals. But if it's not a request, the only thing that'll be is that similar to what's there now is the emergency lights around the exterior of the building.
That's all for me. Would you like to call your next witness? Thank you, Mr. Gargano.
Thank you.
Castro, will you please state your full name?
Kestra Kelly.
And what's your profession?
I'm a civil engineer. I'm a professional engineer specializing in land development and civil engineering.
And how many years have you been a professional engineer?
I've been licensed for over 22 years.
And what's the nature of your business?
I work for BL Companies. We're a full-service engineering firm. I focus on, again, civil engineering and land development. I'm a senior project manager and principal in the firm. I, run most of the projects, specifically in Pennsylvania, also some in New Jersey and Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, but primarily Pennsylvania. Responsible for really all aspects of the design and permitting entitlements, which includes land development, but also outside agency approvals.
And what's your educational background?
I have a BS in civil engineering from Virginia Tech.
And you talked about some of your professional duties as a project manager. Do you also prepare land development plans, zoning plans, and such?
Yes, or they're prepared under my direction for really all aspects of land development, which includes zoning applications, special exceptions, conditional uses, preliminary final land development, NPDS permits, sewer approvals, really all aspects of anything that kind of has to happen outside of the building to make a site happen.
And so as you're drafting plans and such and analyzing sites and designing sites, you review zoning ordinances, subdivision land development ordinances and such for compliance?
That is correct.
And how many sites have you and/or BL companies planned and designed for flagship car wash?
So right now, and I may use Spotless and Flagship interchangeably, so apologies, but right now, BL is working at least over 40 locations for Spotless. We started working with them in early 2024.
And you personally, you've worked on a number of sites in this area recently, correct?
I have, including the one in Phoenixville at 200 Kimberton that was referenced earlier.
And I believe the question was asked about how that was approved. Was that a variance, or was it?
That went to zoning hearing board for a special exception. I've also been involved in a project in Upper Providence Township, which is in permitting now, but that went to the zoning hearing board. That needed a use variance, and in that instance, there was residents immediately adjacent on two of the sides of that property.
Okay, and have you, I think you've already alluded to it, but have you testified as an expert before municipal boards?
I have. I've testified and been accepted as an expert witness at Haverford Township, Westtown Township, Euclid Township, Upper Hanover Township, just to name a few.
Okay, and I'm showing your CV, which is at tab 3 of the exhibit booklet, which is A7. Can you identify that for us, please?
That is my CV, yes.
And I would offer Kestra as an expert in civil engineering, zoning, and land development.
So accepted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kestra, you were engaged by the applicant with regard to this project, correct?
Correct.
And what was the scope of that engagement?
So initially, it was to do exactly what you said, was an evaluation of the site, to review the zoning codes, see the feasibility of converting this site into a car wash. That's expanded to, obviously, a zoning hearing board application. That would include meetings with the township staff when we initially did our outreach, like a pre-application type meeting to vet out the feasibility. We've submitted a sketch plan for review to get feedback to confirm the zoning relief. In this case, we are also, hired to try to engage with coordinating with the public and the neighbors and get feedback. We did targeted mailings. We created a QR code to get feedback questions so we could provide information. We also hosted an open house at the site to invite people to come and learn more about what we were proposing for the site. BL Company specifically, also did complete survey services, building elevations, and renderings, but I myself did not do that work.
Okay. So let's turn your attention to the property. And Jim, if you would put up the aerial photograph, that's tab 3 of the, tab 4 of the exhibit booklet. So I'm going to direct your attention to the existing conditions. Can you please run through the existing conditions of the site?
Sure, I think we all know the site's located at 1675 Yardley Langhorne Road. It's located in the kind of the triangle created between Heacock Road, Edgewood Road, and Yardley Langhorne Road. The site is currently zoned C1 Commercial Neighborhood District with the TND Traditional Neighborhood Overlay. This site is not located within the Historic Commercial District. There's R2 zoning adjacent, C1 zoning as well.
And can you talk about the frontage, the lot area, the width, the depth?
Sure. As been discussed, the site was currently developed as an existing CVS. That includes the CVS building, the drive-through, loading docks. There's significant stormwater management on the site, which both takes runoff from the site as well as the road frontage. There are retaining walls on site, which are between the stormwater management and the existing parking spaces. There's also the typical lighting and landscaping and trash enclosure that you would expect on a developed site. The site itself is unique for some of the physical conditions. As mentioned, it's not a conforming lot based on the zoning code. The zoning code requires lots to be 5 acres. This is 2.62, so a little bit more, but basically half the size. It has 523 feet of frontage. It's irregular in shape, not a perfect triangle, but essentially a triangle, where the depth of the lot really varies greatly between 97 feet to over 350 feet.
And can you talk about the neighboring zoning and uses surrounding
Sure, and I'll
it?
just say, because I was turning my page, that also the site has a very uniquely shaped building. A lot of times, these pharmacies are more like square or rectangular in shape, and this is unique as well. Immediately adjacent, there are, as mentioned, again, medical office. Immediately, there's some commercial, Edgewood Giant Center. I know there's a church, and then it's immediately adjacent to Veterans Square Park.
So let me turn your attention to the proposed development, and you can use the rendered zoning plan that is at tab 6 of the exhibit booklet. Now, here, the existing building, as we've discussed, will remain, correct?
Yes, the existing building, footprint of the existing building will remain, with the exception of the drive-through pharmacy kind of cover. That would be removed, but the existing footprint is to remain. No change in square footage to that. So what would happen that we're proposing for the site is kind of a little bit of change of the way the site circulates. The site as a CVS existing provides for circulation and drive-through, but we are looking to enter the site kind of at the page, I'll call it left or bottom entrance, would be the in to the site. Customers would go and they would enter the pay stations. As discussed, that's where you either pay for your car wash or you have a membership. No speaker, no music, no noise generated from that. Customers would then circulate into the car, go through the wet wash, traditional car wash. At that point, when they come out of the wet wash, they can either leave the site if they just want a wet wash. They can circulate through the site and enter into one of the vacuum spaces and self-vacuum out their car, or they can circulate back into the building and go through the dry belts as discussed. Sorry. We're proposing 10 employee parking spaces. The code does not have a specific car wash use, so there's no specific requirements about number of employees, but we are providing adequate parking for the number of employees. There's no need for any customer to park their car and go into the building. There's no point of sale, there's nothing you can buy. You can't buy, air freshener for your car or anything. So the only people that need a parking space would be employees. The vacuum spaces, we're proposing 20 of those. We have worked very hard on this site to work within the existing developed footprint. So we are only proposing a very de minimis 4% increase in impervious surface over what's there today. And that's mainly just for some of the pockets of green space around the building that need to be converted to facilitate the turning movements in and out. As discussed with Ray said, the stacking to the pay stations is 14. I just want to be clear that that's 14 without interfering with any access way in, and that's without, interfering or stacking onto the road. Then there's an additional 9 spaces of stacking to get into the wet tunnel, so that's 23 total stacking spaces. The wet tunnel entrance really is like the point of the pinch point because we have 3 pay stations. I know Guy will speak to the traffic, and so I'll let him talk to that, but I know that Spotless has hired TPD to do traffic studies and knows the operations of their existing sites, similarly sized sites of 1 wet tunnel, 2 dry vacs, to prove that the 23 stacking spaces is more than adequate of what was required. As Ray mentioned, on other sites, including the 200 Kimberton, there had been concern about cars stacking on the roadway, and Spotless agreed to install a gate, which basically stays open, but it has the ability to close it in case there was ever a need to be, but under normal operating procedures, not need to be used. Once you leave the wet tunnel and you circulate back into the dry belts, there's an additional 7 spaces of stacking. 7 is adequate because there's 2 wet belts for 1 dry belt. You basically go one or the other. So if it's busy, they'll have the ability to filter cars to one belt or the other. If it's quieter, they'll just have 1 belt open up. And Ray also mentioned that there is heated concrete at the exit to the wet tunnel and around the pay stations as well.
Okay, and would you please describe what, if any, changes are proposed to the building facade? And you can use tab 7 of the exhibit booklet.
Sure.
To run through the building elevations.
Probably the perspective view is the best one to get an idea of what it would look like. And this is, just to be clear, is...
I'm just going to get it up there for you.
I thought you
there
were
you go.
telling me. That's a good one. That's more of an aerial view, so that's not what you would see at street level, but that's a little bit more of like a bird's eye view, just so you can see the overall site. Right now, with this rendering shown, in talking with our architects, the intent was to kind of seek more of authentic reuse with minimal interventions to the existing building, maintaining the existing massing, materials, and features similar to the adjacent Edgewood Village Historic District. But I will reiterate what Ray testified to. Spotless has programmatic standards that they would like their facilities to look at, but they are very welcoming and willing to work with townships to make the architecture meet what works best with the township. I personally wasn't involved in Trooper. There was another civil engineer on that project, but I know BL Companies did the architecture for that. And again, that was kind of driven into, based on working with the township, what they want. I know I'm involved in other projects that Spotless is working on, where they're engaging with the township on the architecture that they feel best fits the character of the neighborhood.
And with regard to buffering, is there enhanced buffering and landscaping proposed?
Sure, the site does have, as I mentioned, some significant existing stormwater management, both in the front and along one of the sides. And there is some existing landscaping. I visited the site, and I think some of the existing landscaping is a little sad, a little dead probably, and in need of improvement. So I think there is definitely enhancements that can be done, and additional landscaping and buffering. I will note that there is stormwater management in those facilities, and there are berms associated with that, so there are certain technical limitations of what we can do from that kind of perspective. But I know that we will have the ability to enhance and improve some of the existing vegetation and screening.
And is the proposed repurposing of the building and of the site, is it zoning compliant other than the use?
Other than the use and the loading space.
Okay. So now I want to take you through the relief that we're requesting. And as you know, and you heard in my opening, I discussed the de minimis use variance and then an alternative use variance. So why are we requesting this variance? Can you explain that to the board, please?
Sure. So specifically for the relief being requested, the zoning code does not identify car washes as a specific use. So that's really the first thing. However, the site is in a commercial district, it's zoned commercial, and it's currently a commercial use. And we feel like a car wash is staying within the intensity of that same use. I have reviewed the Lower Makefield Township's comprehensive plan, and there's a couple of things to note. It's directing the growth to appropriate areas, including existing commercial corridors. So again, the site's a commercial site, it's a commercial use, we're proposing a commercial use. In my experience on working on these car washes, a lot of times car washes are an approved use within a commercial zone. The comprehensive plan also talks about coordinating development with infrastructure. Again, that speaks to the site is currently developed, it has existing utilities, existing stormwater management. It talks about preserving the township's established residential character. And again, I would argue that adaptively reusing a site is keeping in line with that, much more than keeping a property vacant that's not alive, as well as the fact that Spotless is willing to work on aesthetically how the site looks. And then finally, allowing for a balance of residential, industrial, office research, and commercial developments that will meet the needs to township residents and to enhance the economic vitality of the township. I would say that taking a vacant building and turning it into a successful, vibrant use is meeting that requirement. Additionally, the comprehensive plan talks to the very limited number of actual sites within the C zoning that can be developed. So it really points to the need to redevelop existing sites. As I mentioned before, the site itself has a lot of constraints. There is an undersized lot, so it anticipates the uses needing 5 acres. We're at 2.62. It's irregular in shape. The existing building is irregular. It's fully developed, and we're looking to adaptively reuse it. As I'm sure you guys are aware, the departure of all of these chain pharmacies have left a lot of these sites all over the country vacant. These buildings have become historically difficult to repurpose for many permitted uses. That is part to a large building footprint. There's not a lot of retail users that need that same amount of space. These sites are designed for parking, circulation. They already have drive-through capabilities. It lends itself to being challenging to subdivide the site and/or subdivide the building into multiple tenants. Spotless has the ability to modify their programming to work within these existing sites and buildings. Like I said, we take great care and coordination with the Spotless team to figure out how to best fit and work with these existing sites. Additionally, there's a benefit of us being here today, having a known end user for this site. We can talk about potential impacts or concerns, and we can talk to you about how we can address those. We know that there's other permitted uses by right that could have greater or different impacts. And we're going through this process, and as Ray, indicated, he's willing to work with you, accept conditions, which gives you guys more control of what the site sees. In reviewing the code, just a couple of other permitted uses I can mention. A restaurant for this site. That could be definitely longer hours. There could be more odors from exhaust, trash. There's more regular trash pickup. There's also larger vehicles delivering food more regularly. A veterinary hospital or kennel. There could be noise from animals. There could be outdoor animal activity and odor. There could also be potentially overnight operations. Health club, fitness club, daycare center, nursery school, those all have higher parking demands, lack of outdoor space, and high traffic pickups and drop-off periods. In comparison, the car wash operation that Spotless is proposing is really highly controlled. These modern car washes are entirely different from older open wash facilities. The wash tunnel is fully enclosed, and as Ray testified, there's new technology to improve that and improve upon the sound. There's a water recycling system. There's limited noise and the ability to mitigate for that noise. There's also no noise after closing. So when the site closes at 8, the employees clean up and leave, there's no noise. The vacuums are turned off. Nobody can sneak back on the site and vacuum out their car. We have contained vehicle stacking that we have the backup data to prove. There's employees on site who are focused on the cleanliness and the efficiency of the operation. And lighting, we can control the lighting, and as Ray mentioned, we will work with the township to either turn off the lights or have very reduced lights for safety.
Thank you. So in your professional opinion, Kestra, is the use variance requested more technical in nature than substantial?
Yes, in my opinion, it is, mainly because the zoning code does not identify car washes as a specific use. It's an existing commercial site in a commercial zone that we're maintaining a commercial use at. It's a similar intensity to the existing permit and other permitted uses. It's using an existing developed site, and we're really limiting the overall changes to the site.
And in your professional opinion, is the use variance requested reasonable and in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance?
I could not find a specific intent of the C1 zoning district, but in reviewing the zoning ordinance, that I would say yes. Again, it's not introducing a new commercial intensity. It's not redeveloping a new site that has no development. It's really already repurposing a site that was designed to have this type of use.
And in your professional opinion, is rigid compliance with the zoning ordinance necessary to protect public policy concerns?
No, because again, the zoning code does not identify car washes as a specific use, existing commercial site and zoning, traffic, controlled operations, environmental sensitivity with water recycling, reuse of a vacant property.
And in your professional opinion, is the use variance requested necessary to make reasonable use of the property?
In my opinion, yes. As I mentioned, the site is undersized, it's irregular in shape. There is a vacancy of these buildings. There's not a market demand to repurpose these buildings. And I think adaptive reuse is better than a new development.
And in your professional opinion, will the car wash use alter the essential character of the neighborhood?
No, because it's already a commercial use. It's already a site that had supported vehicle activity. It expected high turnover. People come in the CVS, quickly leave. It's a similar site in intensity to the permitted uses. The operations are contained and controlled.
And in your professional opinion, will the car wash use substantially or permanently impair the use of adjacent property?
No, because again, as I discussed, the noise and operation are controlled. We comply with the lighting, noise ordinances. There's going to be no traffic spillover. There's going to be no concern with stacking. The area is already used to having commercial activity. It's actually going to limit the hours of that activity, and it's bringing back activity and life to a vacant site.
And in your professional opinion, will the car wash use be detrimental to the public welfare?
No, based on everything I've said prior.
And in your professional opinion, is the use variance or the de minimis use variance the minimum variance that's necessary to afford relief?
Yes, granting this limited relief allows for the productive reuse of this vacant site without really requiring substantial redevelopment.
And there's no other variances that are needed for this site to be developed as a car wash use other than the use variance, correct?
In the loading, correct. Yes.
Okay, let me turn your attention then. Let's talk about the loading variance. Can you explain why that variance is being requested?
Sure, as it's been talked about, the deliveries to this site don't happen that often. Typically, it's not event weekly, but we'll say usually at least once a week. And it's a Amazon-size box truck. So we're not talking about a tractor trailer. Nothing's coming out on pallets that you need a loading dock for. It's typically a box truck, and somebody, takes a dolly and wheels in some of the detergents and other equipment used. So additionally, the deliveries tend to be scheduled, so it's not during the busiest peak time of the car wash operation, where there's plenty of area open and not to impede any of the use of the car wash. So for this, it's something we have been traditionally asking for relief on these car washes when we go in front of a zoning hearing board, really with the need of why add more impervious that's not really going to be needed. So in this case, it seems like a benefit to not have it. The operations don't need it, and there's no need to add additional impervious. We are below our maximum impervious allowed on this site, so we could add it if we wanted to, but we didn't feel like it would be a good design or needed.
And in your professional opinion, will not providing that loading space alter the essential character of the neighborhood, substantially or permanently impair the use of adjacent property, or be detrimental to the public welfare?
No.
And in your professional opinion, is not having a loading space the minimum variance necessary to afford relief, along with the use variance as you discussed?
Yes.
That's all I have of this witness.
Thank you. I'd like to lead out. Jim, can you do me a favor? Pull up that bird's eye rendering perspective, the one that Ms. Kelly requested. So this question's for you, Jim. If you look at that rendering, you see that there's trees planted in the retention basin. And I do know that Ms. Kelly said, obviously, there are limitations as to what can and can't be planted. But is it fair to say we would be unable to plant trees inside that retention basin? Or can they be planted?
I believe that would be a little bit difficult due to the small size of that basin.
Okay, so
There are some, just to interrupt if I can, there is I'll call it like a perimeter lining of trees there now. They're not in the bottom of the basin.
Right.
They're kind of right on the edge, I would say, pretty much along the property line. Some of them have looked like they've fallen over or,
Yeah.
not good shape. So I think what was there could definitely be replaced and enhanced, but we would not be able to infill that whole area between that edge of that existing retaining wall,
No.
which is the edge of the.
yeah, the main point of this is to bring up to the board that is probably a misleading rendering, not intentionally. I'm not accusing you of intentionally, whoever did these renderings, misleading us, but it's highly unlikely we're going to be able to get trees that size along the road there. Is that fair to say, Ms. Kelly?
When you say along the road, you mean,
Right where you see them, which
Yeah,
is
I think
in the
there is-
retention basin. That's the road that we're looking at.
yeah,
That you
and
really can't see.
Yardley
Yeah,
Langhorne
those.
Road does also have a stormwater detention basin. There are some trees there now. I think the angle of this makes it look a little deceiving, but there are existing trees. If you could zoom to one more, this one, thank you. Those are existing trees and vegetation that exists along
Okay.
that road today.
All right, thank you. So, moving on. So if you look around, you see, right, a lot of people here, and these are our neighbors, and I'm pretty sure they're not here to cheer you guys on. But they're our neighbors, and, they're going to want to know if we decide to pass these variances, that there's truly a hardship. Can you walk us through what the hardship is here? Because I do see some uses that, again, I don't want to talk about what's more palpable for the neighbors. Like, to your point, a restaurant might be more objectionable to the neighbors, but at the same time, somebody could literally repurpose this property as a restaurant, maybe not even come in front of our board by right. So help me understand the hardship associated with granting this use variance. Because I totally get the loading dock. It
Sure.
makes no sense. That's like
Yeah.
that's just common sense. Just help me understand that.
The zoning code today requires 5 acres for these uses. So I would say that most of them assume that you're going to have a bigger site to work with to support some of the circulation and required parking. There is unique hardships. Again, the site shape itself, the existing building. I think the fact that it's a developed site and that we are working within that site and the existing building is a benefit. It enables, I know somebody spoke earlier about sustainability, not completely demoing an existing site and sending that all to the landfill is a sustainability effort. There are, factors in what it takes to make a site economically viable, as well as the uses. You are going to want a use at this site that is going to be used and vibrant and maintained, and we believe this is that.
Yeah, listen, I want to be really clear. I'd love to have a car wash there, but I don't live near it, right? Just plain and simple. But again, I'm not sure that you really spoke to proving that that a hardship exists to grant a car wash. I mean, I look at, again, I think this could be, there's no one in line to do it, but I think it could be repurposed as a daycare center, as a financial services building, as a medical office, as a restaurant, as retail or personal services shop. I'm aware that there would also be a nonconformity due to the lot size. That's a given. It's an absolute. Whatever goes in there is most likely going to have a nonconformity. But, just from my seat, and I'm only talking for me, I'm having trouble understanding what the hardship is. Again, if you want to take another run at it, it's up to you, or you can rest on what you told me.
So I agree that any use that goes in here is going to have a nonconformity for the lot size because it's a nonconforming lot. That can't be changed. But what I was alluding to is that the zoning code proposes to have minimum lot sizes for these uses to help support these uses. And so my expectation is that's what's needed. Specifically for like a daycare, I think, there would be challenges with providing, the right elements that you would want in a daycare, which would include outside spaces with the limited constraints of the site. There is large stormwater management basins on site. Some of that obviously treats the existing impervious on site. Some of that is the runoff from the adjacent roadways as well.
Thank you for that answer. Before I turn it over to the board, Ms. Carlton, forgive me, I did not ask you if you had, if you wanted to cross-examine Mr. Gargano when he was up. I'm asking you now, would you like to, after the board gets finished in questioning Ms. Kelly, would you like to cross-examine her?
You need a microphone.
Thank you for the opportunity. With respect to Mr. Gargano, I was going to wait until the end
Okay.
to ask, and I thought that I would wait to see the line of questioning from the board, and then decide whether or not to ask now or at the end, if that's acceptable to you.
Yeah, it's totally acceptable. What I'd like you to do, though, is if you want to jump in, please don't be bashful. Pipe up. Come up, grab a microphone, and ask to get involved.
Thank you.
I don't want to overlook you or miss you.
Okay, thank you. Because as you know, I know it wasn't stated at the beginning that the township did send us this evening to oppose this application.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to make an announcement again before the board starts. After we finish with these questions, which may or may not include Ms. Carlton, we are going to have to adjourn this hearing tonight. Everybody in the room for public comment, it's good that you're here for public comment, even though you don't get to come forward tonight, because you're listening to our questions, you're listening to experts, and questions that are going back and forth. So if you have to, take notes when you get home, come back and revisit this and/or check with the township. Jim, does this get broadcast on our website?
I believe it's posted tomorrow on YouTube and our website, and people can go and review the tape.
So does everybody understand? We're not taking any public comment right now, but Let me just see, there's someone, Adam, there's someone in the room who wants to ask a question. I assume we should let that person ask a question without him wandering into public comment, because it's related to how we're going to manage public comment, I assume.
The question is about public comment?
I assume. Someone just raised their hand, but what we don't want, everybody, is people coming forward right now and asking a bunch of questions. Come up to the microphone, Sarah, and try to be brief.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mark Labrum. I represent 3 residents who reside directly across Haycock Road from where this site is located, so they were seeking party status and the opportunity to ask questions of all the witnesses.
Yeah, that will be granted at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yep, sorry for having to go through that exercise. Okay. No. Everybody will get their opportunity to speak at the next hearing. Yeah, that was the dam breaking I saw.
Understood.
Anyway.
May I ask when the next hearing is, just so I?
Well, we're going to let you work with us to figure that out.
Okay.
And you're most likely going to be the only matter on the agenda that night.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and if you're not, you would be going first, but I can't imagine us putting anything else on the agenda while you're on the agenda. Okay, so, thank you for the housekeeping. Board, whoever's ready, please go.
I'm going to start. Since this whole testimony was regarding zoning, I want to ask Mr. Majewski for some help. If you could put up a satellite photo of the property and the surrounding neighborhoods on all 4 sides, or all 3 sides, since it's a triangle.
I now have it up on the screen.
Great. Could you point out, I don't know if you can draw on that, if you have a tool for that. Could you show us what area besides that property is also zoned commercial neighborhood district or C1? Do you know what that would be?
We have a zoning map on our,
I will, we had a zoning map, didn't we?
Okay.
Yeah, there is a zoning map.
There's a zoning map in here.
Exhibit booklet.
Yeah, hit those 3 little dots.
Yeah.
Jim, it's the 3 little dots at the top toolbar. Dan will show you.
Okay, I've now put up on the screen the zoning map for the township.
So looking at C1, is that covering Edgewood Village?
C1 covers the area that's the current CVS.
Right.
It covered, which is the 2 parcels where my mouse is going back and forth
Gotcha.
on. They've been, I believe, combined into one since the time the zoning map was done. The Veterans Square
Park, okay.
is in the C1 district. The church, Woodside Presbyterian, along with the Edgewood Village Shopping Center with McCaffrey's.
Got it.
Villa Rosa. The Giant Shopping Center with the Lower Makefield Shopping Center with the Giant Food Store and Venezia Pizza. No, I like a lot of pizza.
So now my question for you, Jim. The township this year has hired a consultant, and they're starting the integrated master plan that covers a lot of this area. They're looking to improve walkability, drivability, all those things, and they're looking to make some zoning changes. Do you know where the border of that area is they're looking at, or is that not completely defined yet? I know it covers Edgewood Village.
I believe it is combined, and I don't recall the exact outcome of the last meeting, if that CVS was included, but I believe it was.
Okay. So there's a potential that the zoning for this area could change,
Potentially, yes.
right? I just want to put that out there.
Christian, can you make that point again, please? It's important to know what could change?
It's important to know that the zoning of this area can change. They're hoping to complete this process by December of this year. They've already had a steering committee meet twice, and they're starting to do interviews with stakeholders, members of different boards and commissions to ask for input. I imagine so. I got one coming up next week.
That's right. I couldn't make that one. All right, great. Hi, Larry. You ready?
Thank you for your, I'm sorry, did you say?
We're good.
Mike's a listener.
Everybody's answering. Yeah, they are.
Thank you for your testimony. Do you know what the difference is in sewer and water impact on this business as compared to what CVS did?
So a typical CVS or Rite Aid is typically about 1 EDU, which is an equivalent dwelling unit. I don't know the exact, but it's usually between like 250 and 300 gallons per day is 1 EDU. It depends on the projections, but usually it's an increase of about 15 EDUs.
So for a stupid layman, on a percentage basis, what's the differential?
It's 15 times.
15 times on the
Yes.
water usage side? Yeah?
Correct.
Okay, and what about on the sewer side?
Same.
Same, 15 times? Okay.
Well, that was specifically for sewer. There is a percentage of the water that is reused. It's typically about 40% is reused, so the water usage is about 40% less than that. I was focusing on sewer because that is something that does require outside agency approval. Not to contradict Ray, but we will need to get sewer approval through PA DEP as part of being aligned with the sewage planning for the township.
Okay. Which in part would address whether or not the systems can handle that capacity?
It will talk about whether the conveyance system and the wastewater treatment plant can handle that, yes.
Okay.
And just to be clear, that is the effluent from just the car wash operations, basically inside the building, right? Anything outside the building that, when it rains, is going to continue to operate and go to the existing stormwater management system.
Right. And you said the stormwater management has not been impacted at all by this proposal, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I know I asked previously, but were you part of any analysis on what the decibel levels are that are generated by this?
Personally, no. Spotless has an outside consultant that they typically use to engage with to do sound modeling. I know that I've interfaced and done initial correspondence with them. They've been shared the township code for ordinance for sound, and they feel that they can put the necessary measures in place to meet that.
To meet the code?
Correct, to meet the code. We're not anticipating or requesting any relief from sound.
Is there a variance being requested concerning parking standards on this, did I see?
So originally, when we submitted the application, we had relief noting for the width of the aisles into the pay stations, but that was deemed by the township to not be necessary.
Okay. All right, my last question is
But no, I'm sorry, nothing on parking. I thought that's what you were referring to, but we are not requesting relief for parking because there's no specific car wash use. There's not really a specific parking requirement associated with a car wash use.
Because there's not going to be any retail sales in this building,
Correct.
And I think you were asked in your professional opinion whether or not this would alter the character of the neighborhood, and you said no. And I was just curious what professional standards you were bringing to bear on that answer.
It's my professional opinion based on working on these sites, working on other land development projects for over 22 years, that it's a commercial site. And I fully acknowledge that it is in close proximity to residential. There's a lot of commercial residential interface within this township and many other townships where you have commercial uses near and adjacent to residential uses. I mentioned when I started that several of the projects I've worked on have had that. We have tried very hard to engage with the residents to hear their concerns and understand what measures we can do to help to alleviate them.
Thank you.
Wake up.
Thank you so much for answering the questions. I think some of the questions that I was asking the prior witness probably were more geared to you. So I saw you shaking your head back there. So I'm just going to ask them again. 200 Kimberton Road in Phoenixville. You were directly involved with that product or that one, correct?
I was, yes. Beal Companies did both the civil engineering and architecture on that, but I specifically worked on the civil engineering.
Okay, and again, that's zoned MG, which is Mixed Use Growth District. And from what my understanding of that district is, it's really to grow commercial use in that area, correct?
So it's a mixed growth district, yes. That site itself was a vacant Rite Aid.
Correct, yeah. But the idea of that district is to grow commercial space.
Yes, and redevelop.
Redevelop,
I would say I hesitate on grow because.
Redevelop or, expand, okay. And again, in that location, you have Wawa, Taco Bell, Starbucks, Giant. On the Trooper one, that's a Ridge Pike Business District. You said that you were involved in that as well, correct?
BL Companies did the architecture. We did not do the civil engineers.
Okay, so
Civil engineering, so I'm only kind of peripherally familiar with that site.
Okay, so I won't ask you about that. In your 22-year career, do you have an opinion of why Lower Makefield Township doesn't have car wash as a specific use in their C1 zoning?
My understanding is it seems there could be a couple of reasons, so I'm speculating and I don't know. Sometimes it's just an error that a use is left off of the code. I mean, it's a pretty readily accepted land use category. It may be a slightly older or outdated code that hasn't gotten up to speed with some of the new modern car washes. We've run into that in other townships where they don't specifically have a car wash use, or when they do, sometimes it's more looped in with a service center, like if you had a Wawa with a car wash. I don't think Wawas do, but other, fuel centers that do. When we originally came to the township and had a pre-application meeting, we had that conversation. We said, would we fall under this use? Because that's something that we've seen before. But I don't know specifically why it doesn't address it. It's my understanding that townships have to allow for all viable land uses within their township.
And in your experience, have you seen where municipalities would actually specifically name a car wash as a use that they wouldn't want?
In certain districts, but not within a township as a whole.
So like in a C, they could say specifically in C1, Lower Makefield would not allow a car wash in that zoning. You've seen that before?
Yes.
Okay. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any additional questions from the board? Ms. Carlton, I'm assuming you're staying pat and going to do what you said you wanted to do?
Yes, that will be my approach, that I will ask questions at the end of maybe some or all of the witnesses.
Understood. All right. Let's see. Ms. Von Spreckelsen, we are going to right now ask you about what date works for you. But before we do, Jim, can you take a look at the calendar and propose what would probably, in your mind, like what the first available date or what makes sense? And then
I believe we have a continuance and two other appeals on the April 7th meeting. But the April 21st meeting, I believe, is currently available.
Okay, and is that inside the timelines for this application, April 21st?
Yeah, once they commence the hearing, we have 45 days in which to have the subsequent hearing.
That's a problem. Larry is unavailable on the 21st of April. What is next? May?
I have to check the calendar for when the election is.
Oh, boy.
Occasionally, we move the meeting from Tuesday due to the election.
Yeah.
The Monday prior, and I don't have that information in front of me right now.
I'm going to double check, but I believe it's May 19th is Election Day.
In that case, the date
Double
of,
check.
but if that is true, which I believe Christian may be correct, now that I recall, it is a little bit later this year, May 5th is another possible meeting date.
Back-to-back holidays. I love it.
So, Ms. Von Spreckelsen, here's the problem with the second April date. Our one board member won't be here, and I know you don't want to drop down from 5 to 4, correct? You want a full board?
Correct.
Okay. So how would the first meeting in May be, which is, what date did we?
May 5th.
May 5th.
Yeah, the 19th is.
I have a hearing in Warwick Township that night.
You can't be in two places at one time? So far, you've been super. I thought you might be able to pull it off. All right. So I know you don't want to keep kicking this can down the road.
I know.
but
Is there a special date we can do? I know it might not be a usual.
That earlier April date, Jim, what are those two items?
Hold on 1 minute, please.
I want to see if we can speak, if there's stuff that we can, we know that we might be able to get through in 15 to 30 minutes, and then we could go with you guys.
And what's that date, April?
Well, we have to, let's see if it makes sense. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse.
One of the hearings on April 7th is, I believe, Ed Murphy's that we just voted on tonight to continue.
Yeah, there are 3 appeals. One is the Murphy DeLuca appeal that had been heard previously and continued at tonight's meeting to that date. The other one is the 600 Township Line Road, where they're challenging the township zoning ordinance for the failure to permit residential mental health facilities as a distinct and legitimate use. And the other one is for a detached garage and other amenities to increase.
Yeah, that's a bad night.
Yeah, I think so.
600 Township Line Road blew you out.
Substantive challenges are never good.
Oh, boy. Does anyone know if Bob Heinz, he's not in the room, right? I don't see him.
He's not.
I mean, we could
He's
go,
online. Excuse me, he's online. I can bring him in if you'd like.
would you bring him in?
Yes, 1 second, please.
Yeah.
And also, the May 5th meeting would fall outside of that. It's 45 days, right, to have the next hearing? That would fall just beyond that, so we would need an extension if that was the date.
I think
But
we're-
you already said that doesn't
Yeah,
work.
it doesn't work for us. Look, we're going to work with you.
I think we're going to have a solution, because one of our alternates, it sounds like, may have been in this meeting the entire time, so he could probably slide in
For which date?
for April 21st. He could probably slide in. I'm just waiting for him to come online and ask him.
I'm here now, Jim.
Bob, were you in the meeting from beginning to end for this matter?
So I missed a little bit of the first individual's testimony. I can review that and be ready.
Are you talking about from Mr. Gargano?
Correct.
All right, so you heard what he said.
We do have one issue with April 21st. Kestra is not available on that date. She's another hearing.
I have another hearing for Spotless, so if they can tell me where to go.
If I have to, I can move some things around for the 21st.
For the what?
21st.
Oh.
I think we're good.
either with me or the alternate, yeah.
It looks like that will work.
So are you okay? You heard what Bob Hines said, right? Who would alternate for Larry?
Yes.
So you'd have a full 5-person board, so it would be, there wouldn't be a split vote and hence a loss, if there is a split vote. Are you okay with the fact that he is going to review the meeting minutes to catch up to speed with what he missed on Mr. Gargano's testimony?
If he can review the transcript, I would
That's-
prefer that rather
yeah.
than, okay.
That's what
Okay,
I
I
meant. I
wasn't sure if
misspoke.
there were separate meeting minutes.
Yeah, so,
That's
okay.
The
fine.
video.
You can watch the video,
is
sure.
Going to be posted.
Yeah, and the video will be posted on YouTube. Okay, so,
Let me ask one question. Would the video suffice, or would he need the actual transcript?
I don't know the quality of the video. If he can hear, like if the sound is good and he can hear everything, I'm fine with that. I would prefer the transcript. I think we're going to get a copy of the transcript, so it's going to be transcribed. Anyway,
all right, Bob, so you're going to be up on the 21st, but first we have to make the motion, so don't go anywhere. You're not voting, Bob, but Larry, you are. So would someone like to make a motion to appeal Z-25-48 to April 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Comment? No comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Bob, we're going to need you to look at the video. You only need to watch the part you missed and then read the transcript. Public comment, before you leave, just hold on for 1 second. Adam, will you please speak to the remaining people in the room about party status so they understand it?
Sure. So for public comment on these meetings, there's kind of two groups of people. Generally, the people that were notified, that got notification, not from Facebook, but formally from the township about this hearing. Those people are required under the MPC and the local code to get notified. Those people generally can be granted, if they would like, party status. Everyone outside of that, you would have to prove that you are somehow aggrieved, that your property is somehow impacted, and you are an aggrieved party in order to get party status. If you are granted party status, that gives you the opportunity to present any evidence, to cross-examine any of the witnesses, and it also gives you the right to appeal any decision. If you are not granted party status, you can still make comment, raise concerns, but you are limited in that you do not have that opportunity to cross-examine witnesses. You don't have appellate rights. If you wanted to appeal this decision to the Court of Common Pleas in Doylestown. So you would still be able to make comment, but some of your ability is a little bit more limited if you're not a party, but you would still be able to make comment. And if for those that are party status, including Mr. Labrum's clients, and I spoke with him earlier, those people could present evidence, can cross-examine witnesses. So generally, if you do not live within there, you would have to show that you were affected more than just the random resident of Lower Makefield. So I guess you'll have that opportunity at the next meeting when we get to public comment.
Thanks, Adam. And just to let you know, when we get to public comment in next meeting, I will have Adam repeat that so everybody has a total clear understanding. Okay, thank you, everybody, and we'll be back on the 21st. Is there any additional business for the board?
Do we know what we have coming at the next meeting?
Uh,
The April 7th meeting we just discussed?
Yeah, it's the
All right.
April 7th meeting.
No
we
need to
just
repeat
discussed.
it. No need to repeat it.
Okay. And what is 600 Township Line Road coming back in front of us for?
It's a substantive validity challenge based on the fact that there's no recognized use in the township for a mental health treatment facility.
All right, thank you. All right, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.